Hi everyone, and welcome to Rethink. Today we're going to do an overview of Rethink Behavioral Health Data Collection app. So to get started, you're going to visit your Apple or Google Play App Store and search for Rethink BH. And so just make sure you're downloading the correct app onto your device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. And so it'll be this app on the left-hand side. Just make sure you're not downloading the educational app. You won't be able to log into that app. And so for specific devices, for iOS and Android, these are recommended operating systems and different examples. So just make sure that you are up to date with your software and device. So prior to getting started on the app, there's just some prep work that has to be done with skill and behavior goals. So you want to make sure all of your skill acquisition and behavior reduction programs are set up on the website prior to really logging into the app to use it for data collection. A couple other recommendations are if baseline data has already been collected for skills and behaviors, it's recommended to add it in on the website and switch from baseline to teaching if it's already been done. It just makes it a lot easier for staff using the app. For skill acquisition programs, make sure your goals and objectives are added in, targets are added in, mastery criteria set, data collection type and settings are set, and then the exercise field of the lesson plan, because that comes through on the app. And then for behaviors, the two requirements are step 1 and step 5. And again, for both skills and behaviors, if you already have baseline, add that in on the website first and switch to teaching or intervention data. So offline data entry. So if you have staff that are going to be using the data collection app in offline mode, there's just a couple steps that are needed prior to that session in offline mode. So what staff has to do prior to that session is log in with connectivity and select their clients, select their skills, and their behaviors. Once they've selected all of those, they can log out, and then when they go to log in without connection, they'll be able to enter data with that client and all those skills and behaviors. So logging in on the Rethink app, you're just going to come to the login screen, type in your username and password, and it's the same as the website. So after you log in, you're going to see a list of your clients that you work with, and you'll just click on the client name or the checkbox to the right, and just then press the arrow at the top here to move to the next screen. Once you move to the next screen, you're going to be able to select your behaviors and your skills programs for data collection purposes. There's no limit to the number of skills and behaviors that you select. You can also push the back arrow at any point to add additional skills and behaviors if you forgot to add them on. So navigation of the skills page. So you're going to see on the skills page, you're going to see a little gear icon. That's going to be your settings button. You're going to see your skills tab at the top that shows all of your skills goals. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to see what data collection mode those skills are in. And when you see the data collection mode, it's going to, B is going to indicate baseline data, and T is going to indicate teaching data. All right, so that little gear icon, when you click on that gear icon under the skills tab, what you're going to see is it's going to really show you a version of the lesson plan for that particular skill. So it's going to tell you the goal. It's going to let you switch from teaching and probe mode if you're out of baseline data. And it's also going to let you deselect and select targets And then finally, you're going to also see the exercise field below the targets, and that's your teaching procedure. It can include baseline instructions, error correction, generalization, maintenance tips, and then troubleshooting tips or anything else that the BCBA adds in to that exercise field when they're setting things up. All right, and then next to the settings tab, you're going to see the notes tab. This is going to allow you to enter a note on any target that you've set up. You can see you just select the target and then add in your note, and that note will be saved with your data. So all types of data collections that you see here are able to be collected on the website and the app. So you have opportunity-based with and without prompts, task analysis with and without prompts, duration, frequency, and interval for both skills and behaviors. And then we have opportunity-based for behaviors as well, and ABC data collections. So first, we're going to take a look at opportunity-based data collection without prompts. So this is could be a cold probe, it could be trials, depending on what mastery criteria is set up. And you can see for correct responses, staff press the plus button, incorrect responses, the minus button. And if you accidentally press either button too many times, you have the editing option by clicking on the text box with the number in it, the number of correct or incorrect responses. If you tap on that text box, a number pad will pop up and you can make changes to your data if you need to. Opportunity-based with prompts is going to look similar. It's just going to have your prompt levels, and they're color-coded by how they are set up on the website. Green are correct responses and red are incorrect responses. So if you're systematically fading prompts over time, you may see those colors change. It may initially start where they're all green if you're starting at full physical, and then eventually over time, you'll see how they're systematically fading. And so some will be scored as incorrect. So you'll have a number of prompt levels, and the prompt levels are scored below that as well. And then again, if you need to make changes to your data, if you accidentally press a button too many times, you can always just tap on the text box and a number pad pops up, and you can make changes. And for opportunity-based with behaviors, very similar. So a plus button for each time the behavior occurs, a minus button for each time the behavior does not occur. So for example, with noncompliance, each time noncompliance occurred and a task demand was presented, the plus button would be used for each occurrence of the behavior, and a minus button each time the behavior did not occur. And the next one is, the next screen is going to show you how you edit opportunity-based for behaviors. And just like all the other types of opportunity-based, just tap on the text box and make changes to your data, and you can press done once you've made all your changes, and it will save your changes. So the next few screens are going to be task analysis. So task analysis, what you're going to see is that the title of the task analysis, it's collapsed initially, so you can expand it and show all your steps, and then once you're done collecting data, you can collapse again just to save a little space on your device. So you'll see your steps of your task analysis below that. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a select option, and what you're going to see here is a correct and incorrect button on iOS devices, and it's very similar on Android devices. It's more of a pop-up in the center of the screen with a correct and incorrect option. And then if you need to make changes, you would just tap on the correct or incorrect response that you made if you need to change it, and you'll have the option to change it. And so task analysis with prompts looks very similar. You're just going to have those same options. You just press select for the step of the task analysis and select your prompt level provided. For duration data collection for skills and behaviors, you're going to see a start and stop button. So it's a timer. So when you first start, it'll be set to turned off. And if the behavior or skill starts, you just press the button and it turns on, and then press stop. And you can press start and stop as many times as needed throughout that session. So we're going to next go into the different types of interval data collection. So we have partial interval, whole interval, and momentary time sample. And on the app, they look very different than the website because you're recording data in real time. So for partial interval data, you're going to see a white occurred button initially. If the behavior occurred during that interval, you can just tap occurred. You can only tap it one time per interval. It won't allow you to turn it on or off. It's going to record it and keep it pressed in when that interval is going on. And then you're going to see on the left-hand side, you'll see a little orange line showing the countdown of that interval and how soon that interval is going to end. And if when the timer reaches 0, it will reset and the occurred button will turn white again, and you'll be able to tap on it again to record the next occurrence of the behavior. If there was no behavior during that interval, staff do not have to record anything. You just leave it blank, and it will automatically record it as a no or a non-occurrence for that interval if it didn't occur. So you don't have to mark anything if a behavior or skill did not occur during that time. For whole interval, you're going to be actually turning the interval and timing if that behavior or skill is occurring for the whole interval. So you're just going to turn it on and turn it off when the behavior stops. And then Rethink does a lot of calculation on the back end where we compare the times the behavior was occurring with the start and end times of each interval and calculate the percentage of intervals that behaviors were occurring throughout. So that's how whole interval is recorded. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple to do because you're just really recording the duration of that behavior for that interval. And for a momentary time sample, you will see a counter with an orange bar underneath it. The counter shows how much time is remaining in the current interval, and it's counting down. So with a momentary time sample, you need to record data at just the end of that interval. And so this is the one type of interval data collection that you get a notification. With Android devices, the notification is going to look like this. At the end of that interval, it pops up and lets you know that that's the end of that interval. Is the behavior or skill still occurring? And you can press yes or no, or if you don't need data for that specific interval, you can cancel. For a momentary time sample on an iOS device, you're actually going to get a little notification similar to this, letting you know that a timer, a momentary time sample timer, has just ended. If you tap on it, it takes you right to this screen over here and lets you know what that interval was, and you can respond yes, no, or cancel out of it. And then if you aren't able to go in and respond right away, you're going to see that you have a little momentary time sample icon right here. You can just tap on it and go and respond when you are able to. And you'll see also with the momentary time sample, you're going to see the little orange line showing the countdown at that interval. So you'll know how much time you have left until that interval is going to end. With frequency data, for skills and behaviors, you're going to have a plus button. As you can see right here, for targets, the only difference you're going to see is that you'll have the, for skills, you have the target listed, and so you have a plus button next to each target if you're doing more than, if you're taking data on more than one target at a time. So to record frequency data, all you'll need to do is press the plus button when that occurs. And then at the end of the session, it'll sync your total frequency. If you need to edit your frequency data, similar to opportunity-based, you'll just tap on the text box, and then a number pad will pop up. You can press done when all your changes have been made, and it'll save your changes. The next type of data collection is ABC data collection. So under your behavior tab, you're going to see you have a little ABC icon at the top of all of your behaviors. You just tap on that ABC icon. Then you're going to enter in your your observation time of that behavior, so the start and end time of the behavior. You can enter in one or multiple behaviors, the context, the antecedent, consequence, and possible reason, and you have an option to enter in notes if you need to. And once you're done entering that in, you can press done, and you have the ability to enter in multiple instances of ABC data. So if you're taking 5 or 6 instances during that session, you can enter 5 or 6 instances of ABC data. And the only big difference that you're going to notice is on Android devices, the observation time, the from and the to. You're going to have a little clock icon on Android devices, tablets, or phones when you're setting the hour, minutes, and AM or PM. At the end of your session, you're going to press sync on iOS devices. And you have a little checkbox which has the same functionality on Android devices. So we have sync and the checkbox. So regardless if you are connected to Wi-Fi or not, so if you're in offline mode or connected, you'll do this. You have the same exact process for both. If you are connected to Wi-Fi and you press the sync or checkbox, your data will sync to the website and it is graphed. If you are in offline mode and you press sync and the checkbox, your data is going to be saved to your device. Once you press sync, either way, you just press the back button and you'll log out. So if you are in offline mode when you press sync and log out, what our suggestion is, as soon as possible, try to get some connection so you can log back in and your data will immediately be synced. That's a big requirement with offline data, is just being able to reconnect, whether it's 1 hour later or 2 hours later, just to make sure you go and sync that data. So, and Android and iOS also have a new feature, and this is called our continued session or starting a new session. So if you forget to sync your data and you log out, or for some reason you need to continue your session, you're moving from one environment to the next, you have the ability to log out and continue your session. When you basically finish your session without syncing, and then you log out, all your data is saved to your device. When you log back in, you're going to have the option to continue your session. It will tell you have unsynced data. Would you like to continue with the last session or sync and start a brand new session? So depending on which you prefer, that's now an option on iOS and Android. And that is our overview of Rethink's data collection app for Android and iOS. If you have any questions, please reach out to our support team, support@rethinkbh.com, and thanks so much.